Hi, everyone. It's Cassandra Williamson. How are you today? Well, I'm putting on all my little gadgets so I can see what I'm doing. So, wait. All right. So, we know what happened this morning in Dallas, Texas, right? Everybody knows that already. So far, I haven't heard anything other than the person was anti ICE. It really is troubling to me. And I haven't heard anything yet that there's any connection to trans people, and I hope to God there's not. We don't need another thing targeting all of us in this community. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the one thing that I said I was going to do this morning while I was making that cherry pie. If you watched that this morning, I mean, this is a foray into the kitchen. All right. So we'll just have to see. What I'm going to make this evening, though, for supper, it is supper time, but it takes a few minutes to do some prep work for this one. This is called the Boy Scout meal. Okay. It's something Dad showed us how to do and did it so many times back when we were growing up here in eastern Kentucky with the Boy Scout. But it's also known as the panhandle meal or hobo meal, something like that. You know, people chasing a train across the country and they, whatever, but hobo along, okay? So I'm going to do that. And this takes a big pan. Ordinarily, the way it was made, we took aluminum foil and wrapped it up in little uh, like a banana boat shaped kind of thing, tied it all up in that, put some butter and potatoes and onions and celery and carrots and hamburger meat and a lot of garlic salt and more butter and put it underneath the coals in the campfire. So that's what we did. But I've taught it to all of my kids. So it's a staple on my side of the family. I'm sure it is with all the rest of us in this family too. I'm the oldest of six. I'm pretty sure that the others that actually celebrate this is too. It's kind of it's a staple. It's one of those things that we have done forever. There's one other thing that I'll do probably for Christmas. It's called an apple stack cake. And it's Mom's version. She made this particular thing up herself. She created this concept of an apple stack cake. But that's more of a holiday thing because it's got all these colors in it. It's really cute. It's really pretty and really tasty. Unfortunately, really tasty. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to start prepping for this Boy Scout meal. So you're going to get to watch as I'm doing this. I think I might move the camera a little bit too. I don't know. What do you think there? Let's see if I can put the camera in a different spot. Kind of straddle some other things and get a better picture of what I'm actually doing rather than just my back of my head. Hold on a second here. So I know I'm going to have to lower that down a little bit. But it's look at that. You're getting spun around already. Look, don't get dizzy on me. So we're looking down on the stove, I hope. Let me see what I've got here for an image. Kind of a kitchenette little thing and the stove right here. So you're looking down on it. I'm hoping my camera will stay in one spot. It wants to go twisting around, turning, and all that kind of thing. Now let's see what happens. I'm going to turn it around some more and make everyone really dizzy. There we are. Jeez. For some reason, I got two cameras on in here, and I don't want two cameras on. I just want to get rid of that one scene. Okay, just hang on, folks. I am trying to get this thing set up correctly. Back triple. Okay. All right. Maybe we got something going on here now. If my phone doesn't decide to go twisty Kirby on me. It was doing that a second ago. I'm going to get rid of one of these guests over here. One of them's mine. Other guest, it's me. Hold on a minute. I am actually working on this. Remove the host. Okay. Now it's just one. The microphone is working. I can hear that. I can see that. Good. Good. Okay. So here we are, folks, in the kitchen. So I'm going to start making this Boy Scout meal. Okay. And it takes a little bit of prep work to get all this set up just exactly right. Put this more along the lines of here, maybe. I'm exploring different options. of getting everything all set up, okay? Maybe that's right. Let me see where my head fits on that thing. I'm exploring all this. Hang on with me, okay? Are we too close to the scene? Back up some more. Okay. Life in the holler. It's just life up in the holler. Okay, first thing. First thing here, I'm going to start getting some potatoes washed up. I'm just going to dice these up into chunks. You know, the small new potatoes. I'm going to use the whole bag. Get that going. Wash those off and get them out there. Wash up some potatoes. It's not going to take a whole heck of a lot to do this. These new potatoes work out pretty good at this, okay? That's there. New. Take the whole bag because hey, we like a lot of Boy Scouts around here. I'm doing this because, you know, it's better if we do this than it is to sit around and worry about what the heck is going on down in Texas and that somebody stupid went down there and killed some people. And I know what's going on the right because I've got the Fox News on back here behind the camera. And you never know. They're looking for reasons to pin it on everyone on the left of the political spectrum. But, you know, that's just the way it is, right? That's what you get in the world today. They have the power to control. There we are. So I'm just going to dice these up like this. I need to put a little stuff spray in there. Before I do that, I got to put some spray and tan on it. You're going to spray the bottom of the pan. And this takes about an hour and a half to fix. Cook in the oven at 385 degrees. So bake instead of the 385, get that going, have that ready to roll so that we can do it. This is one of the best meals out there, I think. It's not strongly held personal opinion. But this is kind of relieving for me in terms of, you know, getting away from all the crap out there. It's easy. Calling from Alabama, they'll just have to hang up and call back, right? Won't they? So here we are. I'm just going to dice and slice and throw it all in the pans. You know, so it cooks up pretty quickly. I don't want to get too many big pieces because it takes a little bit of time, right? Right, you all know that. So we dice, cut, put them in the pans. We're going to put everything in there with it. I'll put in some seasoning here in just a little bit. That'll go in too. And all of this gets baked, like I said, at about 385 degrees for about an hour and a half. Oh my God, this is so good. We used to make this when we were out with Dad on Boy Scout trails or hiking or we would hike all over the country. I mean, out the eastern coast mostly, more than anything else. So we'd go hiking, pick these trails. You know, I remember hiking a trail up in Ohio that was on the Quakers, the Quaker Trail. There's a trail, hiking trail that was devoted just to the Quakers up in Ohio. So you get to visit some of those the homes or the old churches where they had their services and their communities were built. You learn a lot like that. You know, getting out seeing things for what they really are. And oh my God, was it a lot of fun. So we'd always, this is one of the main meals that got taken with us. You know, that would say you have to have one carrot, a pat of butter, uh, a little bit of hamburger meat, and one onion, one potato, and one piece of celery, and blend it all together. Putting that aluminum foil, no, it was just, oh, it was to die for. So, yeah, all this in here. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, we went everywhere. We went on scout trip, scouts with Dad, a lot of places, and got to see a lot of things. So it was fun. I mean, we had all kinds of scout stuff up in the holler up there in the beach holler at Forest Hills. I mean, growing up, there was stuff all over the place. Literally, it was like a massive jungle gym at different points in time. They built these big towers. These were, you know, they were locked together by ropes and all that, and rope bridges and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, we learned early on how to take care of ourselves in the forest, how to build up all these things, like rope towers. It was a lot of fun. We had a lot going on up in that house. Uh, it's totally different now, though. My cousin passed away last week. She was living up in there. In the raw potato. You're not supposed to eat the eye because the eye inside the eye can be a little bit more poisonous effect. Watch it out. I like raw veggies, you know. Broccoli, cauliflower, corn. I don't like the corn by itself like that. You got to cook that stuff. This process of putting it all together. So I haven't seen much more about any kind of identifying information from the computer. I know the person's name. I think it's all over all the news in Texas. It's horrendous that someone would kill other people just because of their political views. So we know that that's pretty common in this country and has been from our very founding. I mean, what do you think the Civil War was all about, right? 600,000 people died in the Civil War. 600,000 Americans died because of differences in political views. One of them didn't have a serious issue. So, anyway, we come by pretty naturally. I think we've even sent troops in the first decade, in the first 10 years of our existence as a nation. We sent federal troops out to squelch, put down a rebellion in western New York. So the Whiskey Rebellion. What's that name of it? I think it was Whiskey Rebellion, Daniel Shays Rebellion, Shays Rebellion. He was an officer in the Revolutionary War, didn't want to be taxed on his whiskey. So Washington ordered, I think it was like 10,000 or 12,000 soldiers out there to put down Shays Rebellion. So we come by pretty naturally. Tastes good. Okay. Got a bunch of potatoes in there now. Grab an onion off here. Two. Peel the onions and pull them up. Chunks. Let's go here. So what y'all doing today? Anything fun? I hope that you're not letting your world be destroyed by all the news and stuff. That's what we need to do, right? It's very easy. When I first heard about the shooting in Dallas this morning, the first thought occurred to me was, it better not be somebody that's in this community, because talk about making life miserable for everybody. It's really crazy too. They're focusing on just one or two or three or four, 10, 20 individuals that may be causing all these problems, and yeah, they're in dire need of help. That's for sure. We all know that. But there's over 1.6 million of us, but they're making it sound like it's the entire community. And that's the purpose, though. It's never been about that. It's always been about this. We've got to get these people off the streets because we don't like them. They don't look like us, sound like us, things like us, anything like that. So that's what we're doing. We've been wanting to do that since 1950. It just so happens to be this big deal now. So, I mean, the moment that they took Alan Turing in 1950s, you know what Alan Turing is, right? Alan Turing was basically the father of modern computing. And he invented and solved the Enigma code that the Germans were using in World War II, so it helped us win the war. But Alan was also gay. And it came out that he was gay. I'm sure other people knew about it, but it was a big deal in the 50s, particularly during the McCarthy era, and they were trying to kick out all the gay people out because the federal government back then for security reasons. Before we heard that before. So that was federal. I mean, Alan Turing was British, but that groundswell of anger towards people who were not like everybody else, it swept the world like it is today. And so they grabbed up Alan Turing, put him in a mental health institution, not of his own free will, because they considered him to be a threat, just because he was gay. They rounded the man up and they tried to cure it. They said, "We can cure you of that." Sure enough, yep. So they used electroshock therapy on him. He eventually died from all of that stuff, but the man saved the world from the Nazis by breaking that Enigma code. His thanks was, "You're gay, we're going to lobotomize you and make sure you don't ever do that again." But guess what? It didn't change anything about Alan Turing. Still, that gay man. So that was the 1950s. And the U.S. federal government kicked out about 20,000 people who were gay and lesbian out of the federal government. Then the lavender scares. So all this stuff is not new, folks. It's just another reset. It's a conservative reset that happens every 10, 15 years. But this is by far the worst that it's ever been. What's going on today. And the reason it's worse, though, is because you have much more connected people are associated more closely with what's going on in the world. Where back then, what do you have? Only like one channel, three, most newspapers. So word got around more slowly. All right, so we got the onion chopped up and put in here. The next thing is It's gonna leave just like that. I gotta mix it up pretty good, you know. I'll put some gloves on in a minute. Do some more thorough mixing. I gotta cut up or chop up some carrots. I might just stick the carrots in the microwave to kind of speed up the softening of them. I'll put them in a bowl with a little bit of water. That way, when I finish all the press work, once the carrots be a little soft, because they're usually the things that will take the longest to soften up. So, let's see. These are the carrots. I just got them today from down in Wally World, my favorite place. One of the greeters, a different greeter than the one I told you about earlier. Named Mark. Mark had chat, military. We chat. Today he acted like he was about to fall asleep on the job, so checked to make sure he was all right, because he was struggling to stay awake right there at the door. I'm not going to do the whole thing. Usually what happens is they get left laying around the sun anyway, so you can go on. Okay. A little bit of water. Next. Next, celery. Do the prep on the celery. Pull it apart. Get out the leaves out of here. Don't use that. When we did this with Dad, it was bring a big stalk of celery and a carrot, the big one, onion and potato and a hamburger patty and some butter and some garlic salt and lemon foil. Actually, a good time. Okay, put them off the end a little bit. Okay, get over here and rinse them. Well, now we're going to start slicing them up. Okay, so these are split them lengthwise, especially they're wide. It's a little bit smaller. Not all of them. Yeah. They're just much better than just trying to pay attention to what the heck they're talking about all the time. But vitriol is kind of pretty drugs. I think it is. much more therapeutic. Cardiac. That's the word I'm looking for. Anchor. Okay, got all that done that I want to cut right now. Get my little food mover out. I have one of those food movers. This is the Pioneer Woman food mover. She got a grade, a measuring scale on it. What do you know? Okay. I'm gonna see. I need a bigger knife this time. Switch to a bigger knife. Y'all better watch out there. You strange terrorists, they try to use weapons and guns, right? That's satire, by the way, if y'all don't know that. I'll say it again, as I've said it many times. Over the course of the past 8 or 9 months, I've been doing this, 9 months. If you're one of those people that you can be violent against people that disagree with you, and you're in this community, and I find out who you are, we're gonna have a problem. I did get that one email today, though. That was so funny. From a trans person who said, I'm just being a Nazi collaborator. Can you believe that? They called me a Nazi collaborator because I was saying I mourn with the loss of Charlie Kirk. I mourn with America because of that loss. I'll stand by that. It's every day of the week. Charlie and I would never have agreed on just about anything, but he's entitled to his beliefs. And if you're a veteran or a military person at all and you served, if you didn't serve for all Americans, you are just being deluded. You did. You have to figure out a way to actually make that work for you. I don't know about you. I don't know about, right? I can entertain other views without feeling the need to actually kill somebody over it. So anybody in this community doing stuff like that, yeah, we're gonna have a problem. And then call me a Nazi collaborator because I'm no, I'm not a Nazi collaborator. I got them the exact opposite of that. But I'm also not willing to go kill fellow Americans over their views. If they were right in those views, stop being an asshole. You aren't the only person who has an opinion on things. Whenever I was working with that Human Relations Council in Missouri, I've probably told this story 100 times, but it hadn't been seated since 1974. It was on the book. It hadn't been seated. Every time they would try to seat it at the city level, um, somebody on the council would object, and they could never get it seated. So I approached them because I was involved in the city a lot. I was on the Historic Preservation Commission. I was a member of an active member of the Member Relations Committee of the Chamber of Commerce. I was involved in a lot of stuff there. So I go to city council. I give them my reports. Okay, this is fun too. I'm giving my reports 1 month of historic preservation stuff as the vice chairperson for that. I'm in a stiff business suit, business suit. The next month I'm in there in a mini skirt. And I did tell them, I said, hey, look, I understand the irony of this. Here I am telling you that you need to protect that particular building downtown and keep the steam out because it's an old structure. Yeah. I'm not keeping my old structure. they all laugh. But that Human Relations Council, I finally persuaded the city council to do something about it. And they said, okay, we'll do a task force, a year long task force, check it out, see if it's feasible. And they gave me the option or they told me to put some members on this task force. And so I did. So I submitted a list to the city because I had to be approved by city council. Submitted a list to the city of people I wanted on this human relations task force. First person was the imam of the local Islamic center. Second person was the pastor of the local Baptist church. Others were associated with conservative views that had no wish to associate with people like me at all, but I brought them in and made them a part of it. And obviously I brought in people from the LGBT community and others. But it was balanced. I didn't want more of one than another. I wanted to make sure that everyone's voice was heard. And city council members, the mayor asked me, he says, well, no, most of these people all agree with you. And I said, that's the point, Mr. Mayor. I said, I want something that's going to last. If I created an echo chamber, this is not going to last. I created another echo chamber where everybody in there sounded alike, looked alike, believed alike, acted alike. And this thing would fail just as often as it has failed since 1974. A year later, it was turned into a full-fledged commission on what the city. But it would not have happened if we hadn't had different voices, people who disagreed and whose voices were heard. Of course, we don't all agree with everything, but the point is, it was a starting place. We had to start. We had to begin that process. So, what we're seeing today, and that's what was happening with that email I got from a trans person this morning, only about 20 minutes before I did my noon show. That person was trying to gatekeep me by saying I shouldn't be associating with anything like this, that I should not even say anything about Charlie Kirk. My reply back to that is, he's an American. If you don't give voice to the people who you disagree with, this is going to go from hot to cold, from cold to hot as a hurry. So, still stand by that. So I thought the email was just, I really did call that person an effing idiot. Because that's what you deal with. But you see the same thing on the right, and you see it on the left. There's no difference. There's people screaming like Matt Walsh, who was just mentioned over here on the Will Cave show. Matt will come right out and tell you he doesn't want to talk to anybody who is on the left. And he describes himself as a theocratic fascist and his bio. He's done that from the beginning. He's not ashamed of who he is. Most of these other people out there who are denying this and denying that, they need a good lesson from Matt Walsh. From Matt knows exactly what he believes. And he knows what it is. So I've got no problem with that. He knows who he is. It's the others who are lying to themselves that they get to me. And people who are hiding behind these fake names. Matt's not hiding behind a fake name. He's exactly who he says he is. So I get all these people over there on Twitter going, "You're just this, and you're just hiding. You're just this person here, and you're not being honest." I said, "Oh, really? Why are you hiding behind some name like, I don't know, Idiot 123 forgot the forest with a big frog on your face? And you're saying I'm the one who got the problem? So much stronger competitor, right?" And I say, "Well, I got to. I'm afraid of what might happen." I said, "Don't even bother talking to me. If you don't have strength of character, be real with me or anyone out there on Twitter or whatever social media platform. If you're hiding behind this fake name because you're afraid, you're always going to be afraid. And I got nothing for that." So, that's me, and I'm sticking to the story. Okay? I just don't. I've been that way from the very beginning dealing with Twitter, because it just baffles me that people would hide and then accuse everybody else of being fake. Like, really, you don't see the hypocrisy of that. I've told them flat out. I said, "Look, we can have this conversation you want to have. We can have it. Absolutely can. But you're going to have to show your face and your real name." Do that. I don't want. Oh, you're afraid. You're afraid. I really don't get it. You either believe what you believe and you're convinced of what you believe, or you don't. I don't care what position of authority you think you have in the country. I've had people tell me I'm in the federal government. I can't tell anybody who I am. I'm afraid of what might happen. Okay. Still not an honorable position. It's either be real or go away. I told him that too. be real with me, we'll have a conversation, but if you're gonna hide behind some fake name and accuse me of being a fake person or whatever, come clean. Let's go down that road. All right, let me strain the water off of my carrots. Right. Oh, come on. This is the middle, folks. This is it. Getting closer. A little salt on top of all of this. The thing is, you can put salt all over it, and it seems as if you can't get enough. Because when you finally cook it down for the past, take an hour and a half to cook, when you finally get all that done, you're still going to add some garlic, pepper, salt to it. Almost every time, let's say. You're softer. Good. All right, let's just get back. Well, this is the garlic is what makes it stand out. Garlic, and this is white bread. You have to have white bread, not wheat bread. That ruins the whole thing. This is not for the faint of heart, folks. This is a meal that is comfort food all the way. Okay. I'll leave this out too because more than likely we'll still need some more. Steve, butter. I'm just gonna throw some butter in there in different places like that. Mm-hmm. So pepper for this. Take it out of my mind because it's just baffling. People think that Denver is actually the right place to be. We're here because you went. You never included people who disagree with you. That's the problem. We have these organizations created with that process in mind. It's only for this person. It's only for this group. Well, that is wrong. Flat out wrong. That's why we're here next. Let me get some gloves off of this. Got some raw meat here. Oh, this carrot tastes good. Okay. The food mover over here. No, I might need it for a second. Oh, by the way, that was from this morning, and that is good too. That brown sugar that that I mixed in there with the cherries and blended it up real well. I mixed that pop, and it probably explains why this is like this. Not a problem with thing. That's why this is like this. But that was good. All right, so let's cut this plastic off the hamburger meat. We want to eat the whole thing, folks. The whole thing. So I hope this is kind of helping you see how I go about trying to get through various days and events that occur. Because it is so easy for me to go fly off the handle. My brother can attest to that. Have the news on, somebody will say something idiotic, and I have to get my phone to respond to them on Twitter. That works. I'm not even gonna do that. I can't stomach this off. I'm just gonna lay them on top for right now. So what I want to do is just do this, and then I'm going to put some seasoning on the meat on top of it, and I'll use the whole thing. Make these patties, these hamburger patty shapes, and just cover them up with the veggies. You can use the whole thing. I'm gonna put some aluminum foil on this thing, and it'll be ready by 6:30 ish. About the time my live show ends this evening. Otherwise. So I'm trying to do some things to show you that there are ways to get through all this stuff you're seeing in your lives. Um, we know how to be resilient. We know how to survive all this stuff. We've been trained on all that kind of crap. I mean, if you're in the military, you know how to do this, right? You know, just push through things and get on the other side. So this one right there, and I'll come back in a second. I'm gonna break this into a couple of balls. Put it here, smaller patties, balls. Shoved into it. So, flip, flip, flip. Something like that. So we do the same there, kind of bury the meat in the veggies and all the plastic stuff. Oh, it's going to be so freaking good. This is one of the best meals to rip up. Well, I mean, I like that. Well, oh, wayward carrots. Work that up in a minute. There's the trash with everything else up there. Okay, there we go. We got everything turned over now. Meat down inside the pan under some of the veggies. Now, take the gloves off. Put some aluminum foil on that. Put it in. Okay, there's that now. Now, when we were at the restaurant, we had these 1,000-foot rolls that were this wide. It was 1,000-foot roll. We used that aluminum foil after the restaurant closed. We used that aluminum foil for 3 years or more. It never went out. It's always. Never had to worry about that. We had a big old. Well, kind of fix the end of it like that. Fold it in. And I'm gonna fill it pretty. I'm gonna fill it up top. Keep all the moisture in there, so it helps make this thing finish with all the juices in. Yeah. Yes. Like I said before, when Dad did all this stuff, we had individual pieces of aluminum foil and put the butter and the meat and the veggies in there and then twisted all up in the tight little thing. It turned out to be about that big, basically. And you put that under the coals on a campfire. Oh my gosh. The best. Okay. This is a Boy Scout meal, or as I said before, it's also known as a hobo meal. Put it in here. Oh, an hour and a half. Oh, there we go. So I'm going to put all this stuff into the sink over here and ready to clean it up. I don't want to hang around and watch. So, we've got five is on right now. That's guitar was on there. Was that one side? John Turley? What you got? Greg Gutfield. It was there we go, SOB. But I've had some conversations with them just briefly, but they will never bring me on their show to have a conversation. You know why? They don't want to be fired from the levels. That's why Doug Collins and others in the federal government right now, even if they wanted to talk to me, they won't. Because you got people like Dr. Chase Spears, an active duty Army major who is watching everything military people are doing right now and going back over their histories, social media profiles, looking for anything that he disagrees with. If they have any inclination in their private lives that they are left or left of center, Major Spears points it out to Major Dickhead, that would be Pete Hayseed, and Pete fires them within just a couple of hours or relieves them of command. It's been happening for the past week. You've got Laura Loomer, Kaya Rychek have looked at TikTok. This major Dr. Chase Spears. They wanted, if anybody wanted to ever talk to me about anything to do with transgender healthcare or transgender people, or even just get another perspective, they won't do it. At least not yet. Because they know that they're really scared. They're afraid to say anything. And that is sad. They don't have the freedom to say it unless they're speaking from the right side of the fence. They can say all they want. And I know people are going, well, it used to be the other way around. Fair is fair. No, but yes, it was wrong for the other groups to do the same kind of thing. But in the military, they've never been this politically separated. When I went through in the 70s and 80s, the one thing we were told is that we'll never be allowed to be engaged in any kind of political conversation or run for public office while we were in the military or things like that. I mean, we just knew not to do that. But yet now we've got people who have over the years have a record of associating with a lot of different people in the military for different reasons, different minority populations. And they're afraid of being caught and told to leave by Big Head Hegtef. So it's no wonder they don't talk. They don't want to lose their jobs. So you've got families to take care of. I said it earlier today that Admiral Davis, who was the superintendent for the Naval Academy, when Hexeth removed her and made her a staff adjunct at the Pentagon and put in the general, the Marine general in charge of the superintendent of the Naval Academy. By the way, the Marine general is highly qualified. He's well deserving of that position. And no Marine has ever held that position as superintendent of the Academy. So it's a first, and it's a really good thing that he's there. Circumstances were wrong. Davis had only been in there like 19 months, and in a 3-year term. And many times it went way beyond 3 years. Because when we were there, I mean, Larson was there forever, so it felt like. But they pushed her out and sent her to the Pentagon to be an aide in the Pentagon to the Joint Chiefs. There's only one reason for that. It's because the ideological position that Dickhead Pete has comes from Doug Wilson. who believes that women should not vote, his pastor, that they should not be in positions of power or authority over any man anywhere. They will never tell you that up front right now because they want it to come across as being non-discriminatory. But their actions speak louder than words. When they removed Lisa Franchetti as the chief of naval operations, so many of the commandant of the Marine of the Coast Guard, who was female, removed these people from those positions because they were female. And like Joel Weebon and the other people, Doug Wilson and his whole church staff, they have said many times they don't want women in Congress. They don't want them to vote. They think that they should be submissive to their husbands, and only the man should vote. They've said those things. That's who Pete is. And so, what they're doing is kind of making it look like that they're being nice to these people. You know how they're not. You know how we can tell that they're not, though. Just within the past couple of days, an organization that was designed to help women in the military, particularly officers, to retain officers, female officers in the military, to help with their needs. And they do have different medical needs. You're not going to be able to say, you've got to treat everybody the same across the board. No, it's just not possible, okay? It's not possible at all. They eliminated that organization. I've been watching a thread from my classmates and people that I went to college with talking about what's going to happen now. You've got people who are needing support, women who are needing support and needing to provide, needing to be able to give their insights into what the military is doing. But he doesn't care. He doesn't want the women around. So this thing was shut down this past couple of days. And he's letting you know who he is. He's telling you exactly what he believes and what he's doing. I suspect that Admiral David's probably be gone in about 6 months because it's incremental. They'll go, here, do this, and then sideline her from being able to do anything of effect, and she'll be kicked out. They don't want women in the military, period. Especially ruling over any kind of men. Oh my God, you got to be weak-kneed men and not be able to deal with women, right? So we know what's coming. We know how it's working. I think it's a lot like putting frogs in a pot of cool water on the stove. Putting a bunch of frogs, they're cold-blooded, so they can't tell the temperature of the water is changing. Turn the heat up on them, and they'll just enjoy every bit of that until the point that they're boiled to death. So that's where we are. So I don't know how we push back against that. So that's why I started doing these funny little things about what it was like to be a trans terrorist in Appalachia. Satirically, some satire associated with that. And telling people like Pam Bondi and Cash Patel and Dan Bongino that they needed to put me right on the top of their darn terrorist list. All of us need to be doing that. We ought to be reaching out and saying, hey, add me to your list. Flooding their system, swamping it. All 1.6 million of us in the country. I'll be swamping down with all of this kind of stuff. Inundating their system and running it down into the ground. Because it's acid. So, here we are. And I'm standing over a stove and I'm thinking seriously about this cherry pie. And now I'm going to wait. We got that Boy Scout meal in the oven. I do need to clean up over here a little bit. So, let me do that. Got some onions. That's good. A few things around. You can watch this too if you want to. I'm just going to talk. Entertain. Probably not entertaining, but hey, what the heck. Distracted. I will say this. I've got to send in an audio clip from a conversation I had yesterday with people from the Washington Post. And I'm not quite sure how it's going to turn out. They really love the fact that they love the stories that I started about, a little humor from being here in Eastern Kentucky as a trans-terror training camp. As you can see, this is right there. It is, folks. I can hit you with a pan, and that wouldn't be much because 66. I really don't. There's not much left. There's the part. So we'll see what they want to do with it. I got to send an audio clip in. We did an hour and 20 minutes yesterday, talking with their reporter from out in Portland, Oregon, and in coordination with somebody from New York. And I'm not going to mention any of the names. I know all the names. I'm not going to do that yet. But look forward to something in the Washington Post. Not quite sure what they're going to pull in. They have access to all the blog posts and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, I'm not hiding. But they try to encourage me to write a book that's more humorous than not, because there are no books out there right now that are actually humorous. I don't have a lot of time. All you can do is, here's my there, here's we go. Welcome, though. Get all of my pots and pans and spoons and forks and stuff out. This is my little drying thing. Thing out over here. It's one of those real expensive ones, inexpensive. But, find things to do. That's why I go out. When I go out, sometimes I'm filming the videoing roads that I'm on because people want to know what's it like in the hills where you are. I can't have an exit. I'm going. It's there's no problem back here. None whatsoever. If anybody has any opinions about stuff not in the immediate family, then pretty much they keep it to themselves. But we have live and let live kind of world, right? It should be. Leave us alone. We'll let you go on. Bullshit down our throats. We don't want it. I know a lot of people say, I'm not going to do it. It's fine. I heard that back in 2018 in Minneapolis. Nice little reunion of a friend of mine who was in prep school with me. Said, you want you to shut all this stuff down? I said, yeah. So you just take the fence and put it away. Y'all been trying to kill us since the 50s. We got the fruit. What do you got? It won't take too long, but those things right now. Check my mom. I'm decided to go down about a couple hours ago, I guess, maybe 3 hours ago, after the physical therapist came. So, yeah. Country allowed to be entertaining, but if I can entertaining, what do you want to do? Let's see. Splashed up on my clothes. Let me do this too. Let me pull this thing out. Perhaps over. It's our manager, right? What do you say? Coffee, something. Anyway. Oh, strings up on this. That's a shame. Down on the cutting board. Big riders out there. Everyone's having a good evening, which not being distracted by all the crap out there. My biggest fear is something else that transfer. Anxiety, like because I know just as soon as that does happen, that some idiot in our community does something stupid, I know that will be used. This administration will go after every track person. They've been telling me that for a long time. They're just looking for the right opportunity. They're going to blame every trans person for the transgressions of 1.6 million of the transgressions and stupidity that was with there. Fewer than 20. 20 is over like 20 years. So, it's not really about that. There was stuff that we thought the decisions they place in Texas. It's down the way our prison now. Sorry. But once I'm done with this, then I'm going to take a break before I do my 6 p.m. show. I need to review the news too. So y'all don't have to. Say I hope you're staying strong and staying safe. And not letting this stuff get to you because they want you to spread it. And then they want you to do that unless they do something stupid with it. So don't do it. Don't fall for it. This little thing right here is what fancy. Put sausage and bacon on it to get them up for it. Yes. Christmas Eve one. Anybody hanging around watching the show? Been talking for a while. Yeah, somebody is. Hi there, whoever you are. I don't know who you are. There's a message. There's somebody said something, but I can't quite get to that side of the screen just yet. Kind of restricted to this side of the screen. Okay, sit there. Look at the chat box here just a little bit. Okay, almost there, folks. Almost there. Moving over to the kitchen. So, I'm so has to bring lights down. It's been a hard day actually. I've been a relief. Yep. Push it through. Uh-oh. Okay. I'm gonna send handy dandy knife. Okay, people, let's go find out what's going on in the back for a minute. All right, so I'll see you in just about 30 minutes or so. I, I need to make this. Hey, Sandra. Yeah. Sandra was watching me make the Boy Scout meal. Yes, Sandra.